Caroline Fredrickson is the president of the American Constitution Society.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Amy. And thanks to all of you for being here, to the law school for hosting us. It's really a pleasure. Those of you who I've met before know that I'm a native, so it's great to be back home. Although my real Chicagoan friends say you grew up in Evanston, and that doesn't count. But I'd like to think you'll welcome me here in the South. So, you know, this is, I did a program like this with your colleague, Congresswoman Schakowsky, Jared Huffman, in California. And on my way to that event, Donald Trump fired Jim Comey. And it kind of upended the event. It gave us a lot of new topics to discuss. They were sort of new in that they were different of time, but they were certainly a kind of acceleration of what we had already been witnessing
Every time.
every day. So I got off the plane this morning. I turned my iPhone on to see if there was anything new on Twitter, and it seems to be calm today. But I did want to bring you greetings from Washington. Dobry utro. Hello, basically in Russian. I was a Russian major in college. It's something that I didn't think would ever be useful to me. Here we are. So, you know, it could make light of it, but it is a very strange and troubling time when we are all of a sudden immersed in these issues of rule of law. You know, grappling with questions from how does somebody lose a security clearance? What's the process for taking that away? Why is the president exempt from the ethics requirements that otherwise apply to federal officials? What can Congress do to provide oversight to an administration, especially when they're of the same party? What does a special counsel do that's different from a congressional inquiry? And so, you know, I think people, even in Washington, where we're sort of used to the, you know, some of these procedures going on, although never quite this way, I have to say, you know, are immersed in these kinds of questions. But I think as Congresswoman Schakowsky had said, there's all sorts of things that are happening under the surface or behind the scenes or just not in the spotlight that are very dangerous and damaging. You know, for example, we hear a lot about how President Trump has done very little to fill the ranks of government. And maybe for many of us at first that we breathe a sigh of relief. Okay, that's more, you know, Steve Bannon's not running different agencies. But nonetheless, it really, it shows an incredible disregard for the functions of government that goes along with underfunding and not supporting their missions. In the meantime, Congress has moved through the Congressional Review Act to undo an enormous number, more than any before, of presidential actions that were undertaken by President Obama through his executive authority, through rulemaking. An unprecedented number of those have been repealed, and very little of that has gotten attention. And so, you know, I think it is a testament to why an organization like the American Constitution Society is so important. Because we need to keep a bright spotlight on both of those big questions about rule of law, about separation of powers, how the framers structured the checks and balances so that there would be some kind of oversight, even at a time when you have one party ruling two branches of government. So that brings me to the third branch of government, which is really one of the main areas in which the American Constitution Society does work. You know, the Congresswoman already mentioned how this president has sought to undermine the stability, the independence of the judiciary by making personal attacks on judges. And of course that has happened before. But again, I think it's sort of been evinced by a number of examples that just reach a higher level than we've seen before. And it started last summer, you may recall, and this happened just before our national convention, where candidate Trump attacked Judge Curiel, who was the judge in the Trump University case. And he called him a total disgrace. And he attacked him because the candidate Trump accused him of being biased because he was of Mexican-American heritage. And then, of course, Judge Robart, who was called the so-called judge. And then more recently, and it's almost comical, but except that there's a danger behind the statement, but when Attorney General Sessions described his amazement at how some judge sitting on an island in the Pacific could actually have an impact on something the president wanted to do. You know, and again, it's sort of funny, except that it describes an attitude towards the judiciary that is very dangerous. Because I think you all know the statement that you know, the courts are the least dangerous branch, Alexander Hamilton, saying, you know, because they have neither purse nor sword. Well, what they've had is respect. What they've had is the power of the reputation, of a recognition that in this country rule of law prevails. But when that starts to be undermined from the highest levels, from our president and the Attorney General, our chief law enforcement officer, who both attack judges personally and attack the actual basis for their jurisdiction, I think it puts us in a very dangerous place as a country. And the other piece that I think, you know, we need to pay particular attention to is the process by which this president has announced he's going to be selecting judges. And you may know that, unfortunately, there is a very, very large number of vacancies on the federal bench right now, an enormous number. And due to the fact that for the past several years, the Republicans in the Senate refused to allow any of President Obama's nominees to move forward. And that left them with well over 100, almost 130 nominees or vacancies to be filled. In contrast, when President Obama came into office, there were 59. And so you see the impact that President Trump could really have on the federal judiciary. So I think we have to look very carefully at the methodology by which he selects his judges. And he has announced during the campaign and subsequently that he has a litmus test for his selection, but also that he's outsourced it to external groups, to the Heritage Foundation and to the Federalist Society, and let them develop a list and simply sent that list up to the Senate. You know, and while it might be nice, again, to joke that it would have been nice if President Obama had just turned that over to ACS, that is not the world that we want to live in. We certainly want to have input, but there should be many voices having input into who the best judges should be for this country, because we believe in an impartial and independent judiciary. And the idea that the president himself has suggested that he'll let external groups without any other input develop these lists, and that seems to be actually what's happened. Again, I think that's extraordinarily dangerous. You know, again, the courts are the least dangerous branch. They don't have sword nor purse. But what they have had till now is our belief that rule of law is a vital element of a democracy, and that the courts have to be respected and their voices have to be listened to. And we're in a moment where, you know, I'm hoping that this is, we can stabilize, that all of us on the outside as the resistance can ensure that we maintain an independent and fair judiciary. But I think that's all on us. It's for us to stay engaged. It's for us to make sure that through various organizations, such as the American Constitution Society, we help direct and channel people's interests in protecting fundamental rights and liberties and ensuring that we have a vital democracy. So, you know, I hope you'll join with us. Any of you who aren't members of ACS, please join us. We need you. We need your help, support, and most importantly, we need your ideas and direction for how we can be more effective in ensuring that we protect our great democracy and that the United States of America remains a beacon on the hill, if I can quote from President Reagan. which I don't do very often, but I will today. But anyway, thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure, and I look forward to joining with all of you in this important work that we have to do.